Good morning, friends. I hope you all are fine in this pandemic situation and hope you're having a great time at home. Yes, it is very um, boring because online teaching is a bit not conversational, so it is not good, but still we have to do because we are in such a situation. Okay, now let me continue with the topic romantic age, which we have left in the previous lecture. Now, what is romantic age? Here you can see the romanticism, the term romanticism. Now let me clear that romantic age, romanticism and romantic era are the similar words, or we can say synonyms. Okay, it was an artistic, literary, musical and intellectual movement which originated in Europe at the end of 18th century. It was said that William Wordsworth is the one who gave or who started the romantic age by giving the preface to one of his work, which is the combined work of William Wordsworth and Coleridge, that is lyrical ballads. And the preface of it, which is named as Preface to Lyrical Ballads, which was given in 1800, this was considered as the starting of Romantic Age. In Romantic Age, uh, first we have to just go through of what was the age previously which was going on, and what is the reaction of it. Okay, to learn about the previous age, first we should know that romantic age previous age was neoclassical age. Now neoclassical means what? Next to classical means which was bounded by rules and regulations. Okay, there was no freedom given to any person, and in that age two great revolutions were being there. First one was French Revolution and the second one was Industrial Revolution. Now let us have a clear idea about what these revolutions were. The first one was French Revolution. French Revolution means what? It was started in France, as the name only suggests, and uh, the revolution means the situation at that time was such that it was seen that there was totally social imbalance in the world. Okay, its impact was seen on in the whole world, and so this revolution uh, was faced in whole world. The second one was Industrial Revolution. Now what is Industrial Revolution? Industrial Revolution means what? At that time industries were flourishing. Okay, and every person was earning a living from there only. Okay, due to industries, no person had a personal life of it. Okay, so we can say that there were no emotions, feelings which were portrayed in any of the literary art. So to bring out that, again, romantic age was seen. It was not only seen in the literature, but was also seen in various arts such as music, literature, visual arts, education, etc., etc., etc. So its influence was seen in almost every part of art. Etymologically means the meaning of the basic word. Okay, it was seen that it was romance rather romance is not just the love which we have heard a lot many times. Okay, it is the meaning of romance is far behind what we think. It is the thing that the portrayal of emotion and feeling naturally, and it should convey the same thing naturally. Okay, there should be no artificiality in it. Now there is a period means what? The early period started, I said, as I said, it started in 1798 when the lyrical ballads was published uh, in the market by William Wordsworth and St. Coleridge. It was a combined work. Okay, and they both were considered as the first romantic poets of romantic age. It is also said that the romantic poets also have classification, that is first generation romantic poets and the second generation romantic poets. Okay, so in first generation romantic poets, William Wordsworth and Coleridge were the main or the pioneers. Okay, so the first early period was seen at that time, and from there only romantic age started. Then the features, I think I left here only. Okay, let us discuss this in detail. In the second half of 18th century, a new sensibility emerged. The Romantic Age is the period in which new ideas and attitudes arose in the reaction of dominant 18th century ideals of order, calm, harmony, balance, and rationality. This movement didn't lay a precise program of rules, but the recurring romantic trends are the emphasis on imagination, which a divine faculty which allowed the poet to grasp the divine. Indeed, this is a godlike faculty thanks to which the poet becomes a seer and a prophet. Means what? The first important feature is imagination. Now, for any portrayal of emotion, we should have first the imagination. Okay, yes, it is said that literature is nothing but the portrayal of emotion and feeling of the person and the portrayal of what we see in the society. But if imagination is added to it, then it will have a different flavor, it will have a different impact on the minds of reader. So it is said that the first important feature of romantic age is imagination. Second one is emotion. Moreover, poets tend to use autobiographical material. They were less intellectual and more intimately emotional. Okay, as we discussed that in previous age, industrial revolution was seen. So, uh, due to flourishing of industries, people were not having their personal lives. Okay, and due to that, the portrayal of emotion to each other was not possible. Okay, so for the better upliftment of a person, it was important that the emotion should be portrayed as it is, or we can say the emotions portrayal is must. Okay, so the poets of romanticism thought that emotion is the second important feature of romantic poetries. The first one is this imagination, the second one is emotion, the third one, it is the portrayal of rural life. Now, why rural life? Let us see. The events that caused this new sensitivity are the French, the American, and the Industrial Revolution. In the Industrial Revolution, cities became overcrowded, polluted, and they witnessed the exploitation of women and children. Therefore, the countryside was seen as perfect, innocent, and considered as mirror of goodness. Okay. Now, as we said that due to industries or industrial revolution, the cities were become overcrowded because from rural area also people were coming in city area, and they were getting work in the industries, and so overcrowdedness was seen. Likewise, the pollution was also seen to a great extent, and um, all these things, along with that, one social issue was also being seen, that is exploitation to women and children. Now, therefore, the countryside was seen to be perfect. Now, what is countryside? Means the rural life. Okay, so if one wants to get relaxation from the day to day life, okay, now simply we can say that due to this coronavirus, okay, we were having very bad mindset. Okay, because we have spent, I think 3 to 4 months in the house only, and no one likes that. Okay, so after the lockdown completed, okay, nowadays we are seeing that people are just going very બહુ શાંતિથી જાય છે, કાંઈ છે જ નહીં જાણે એને. ઓકે, સો this is seen only with the nature. If we go close to nature, our mind gets relaxed. Okay, so nowadays people are going to see that waterfalls. Okay, and or any natural area, okay, any area that is having natural beauty, they are going there. The very distinctive feature of romantic age is the new view of nature seen as real living being. A quotation which explains the role of nature in romanticism could be, "If winter comes, can spring be far behind?" by P.B. Shelley, taken from Ode to West Wind. This sentence means that nature is eternal. After a winter, which symbolizes death, there is always spring, which symbolizes the rebirth of nature. The fourth important feature of romantic age is that uh, the reality of life. Okay, now what is the reality of life? It is given, there is given one example uh, of Ode to West Wind by P.B. Shelley. There is one line, "If winter comes, can spring be far behind?" In general, we can have an idea that after winter, spring will come. Okay, but here is a portrayal of, or here the winter symbolizes death, while the uh, spring symbolizes the rebirth. So it is the reality of life that uh, after the death only rebirth is possible. Okay, and for that death is must, for rebirth death is must. So this is the reality of life. And these are some of the important features of romantic poetries. Now there are many types of romantic poetries. Okay, the first one is the early romantic age was characterized by different poetic trends. The first one is pastoral poetry. It is expressed idyllically pleasure in rural life. It celebrates and praised country life for its simplicity. In pastoral poetries, the poetries which describes, or we can say praises the rural life or country life with for its simplicity, that poetries are said to be pastoral poetry. Suppose the shepherd is going to graze his sheeps and all that, and seeing that one poet has written a poetry. So this simplicity, okay, this simplicity which is uh, given in poetry, that poetry is said to be pastoral poetry. Then comes nature poetry. The main representative was Thompson, who saw nature in its physical details. His observation included wild scenery and led reflection on the primitive man in contrast to the civilized man. Now, second one is nature poetry. How the nature affects the men and human being. That is the portrayal of that type of poetries is nature poetry. It also contrasts the men who is civilized. Civilized means what? Who is there in city life area, and the contraction of this thing is seen in the nature poetry. Then comes oceanic poetry. Means what? uh, it gives the description of wild nature. Okay, now what is wild nature? Nowadays rainy season is there, okay, and rain is very good for us, okay, but if the rain is heavy and it is getting heavy every minute, okay, so we can say that there is a flood like situation. Now this flood like situation is the wild side of the nature, and the description of this wild and gloomy nature and the poetry of this type of nature is said to be oceanic poetry. Then comes the graveyard poetry. Here the symmetries and stormy landscapes and graveyard and graves and all things are talked about. That is called graveyard poetry. And the main representative of this type of poetry is Thomas Gray. And generally the poetry's theme would be life and death in graveyard poetry. Now comes the Gothic novel. Gothic novels are marked by a taste of mysterious and impulse for freedom and escape from the ugly world, and lastly, by the fear of trump of evil over good. The first time adjective Gothic was linked not only to architecture but also to literature was as the writer Horace Walpole wrote a Gothic novel as subtitle of his novel The Castle to Otranto. Here, in this type of novel, the freedom and landscapes are talking about, okay, sorry, are said about. Lastly, if the evil gets defeated over good, and this type of novel was firstly written by Horace Walpole, which having a subtitle The Castle to Otranto. Gothic novels intended to arouse fear in the reader with the threat of realizing all the potentialities of mind beyond reason. This type of novels creates threat, or we can say fear, in the minds of reader through its description, and generally the issues are beyond our imagination. The nature of this fear reflects that historical moment characterized by disillusionment with the Enlightenment, rationality, and by bloody revolution. This gives the description about those bloody wars and all that. Okay, this that type of threat is being seen in the minds of readers. Their settings were influenced by the sublime, so they used isolated castles or mysterious abbeys. Means what? The isolated places are generally the uh, we can say the area where the this type of novels are written. The most important events that take place during the night when darkness prevails in order to create a gloomy and mysterious setting. Generally, the time period of this novel would be of night or midnight, so that it can create darkness in the minds of readers and even the threat in the minds of readers. The Gothic hero is isolated, both voluntary and involuntary. The heroine is both afflicted with unreal terrors and persecuted by a villain who is the embodiment of evil. Okay, generally, we are having uh, that idea that a hero and heroine would be this type. Okay, in this novels, hero is having the isolated both voluntary and involuntary, while the heroine is stuck in between the good and the evil, and the villain is evil. uh, and the villain who is embodiment means what? He describes the evil. The wanderer is the symbol of isolation, as he wanders in the perpetual exile as a form of divine punishment. The plots are complicated by supernatural beings such as witches, monsters, ghosts, and vampires. The main representatives are Matthew, Gregory, Lewis, and Mary Godwin. Generally, the supernatural elements are being talked about in this novel, and the main representatives are Matthew, Gregory, Lewis, and Mary Godwin. Okay, so we keep up to this, and I hope you are getting what I am telling. And please don't forget to comment your name and roll number in the comment section. We will continue this in the next lecture. Thank you so much.